Hey, Mike with Aftermarket Assassins here, ready to go over how to install our clutch kit. Right now this will be our S1 clutch kit for the primary clutch, the front clutch. First, going to try to make this quick. We're going to pull all our clutch cover bolts. I have a lot of these pulled off already. This is a 10mm. On the back here there is a heat shield that bolts in place. Make sure you note the orientation of that heat shield, how that blocks the exhaust from getting to the clutch cover. That heat shield pulled off. Now you can see our clutches, primary up front, secondary in the back. There is a seal inside this case. Make sure you don't lose the seal when you do it. Make sure when you put everything back together that seal is in place. For the one trick here, this is not great. Getting the clutch cover out sucks on these, no doubt about it. So I'm going to show you my trick that I learned of doing this 100 times. So you kind of have to angle this top side that way towards the motor, and you're going to lift it up, rotate it like this towards the motor, and now you can kind of get in the armpit. Okay, when I was removing the clutch cover, I was talking about this kind of elbow right in here. There's this bolt that holds this wire. It's just a wire tie. Honestly, I might be moving that somewhere else or using another option because it's kind of in the way, but this right in here is where you have to get that edge of the clutch cover. This one right here, I believe, or this one, right into that, past it. That's the way to do that. Right by that bolt, and then just it'll come right out, and then you can rotate it backwards like this and do 100 times, but you still struggle a little bit, and you kind of flatten the cover out, if you could see that. So that is the only way I figured to get this out and back in. Back in's a little bit more tricky, but it's the exact same way. As far as everything else goes, we have our belt removal bolts. There's 3 of them. You'll thread this in. I use a ratchet to thread this all the way in. That'll open your secondary clutch off. You can peel the belt off the top. I'm not going to show you that. That's very basic. You can use all 3 bolts if you want. 1 bolt will pull it off. Yeah, a little better to use at 2 or 3, but 1 will pull it. That's what I've been using, no issues. This does have our wide belt kit on it, which is sitting above the sheave. The OEM belt sits into the sheave. That is not ideal. I don't know why they put a smaller belt on these models than some of the even previous models and many others. The ability to go to a bigger belt is right here. So we did it. We've had great luck with this belt so far. But anyways, without further ado, we're going to show you what to do next. Okay, for this next bit, we're going to remove our weights, which are right here. We need to remove this snap ring, the small snap ring pliers, and then first we're going to remove the spring cover. So just note these 6 bolts here, under some spring tension, not a ton, so you don't have to really worry about it. Just try and work all of them loose, leave 2 of them in place, and then evenly take those off. The one thing to note is if you have to adjust your weights, say you have to pull them out for whatever reason to adjust, you do not have to take this spring cover off. You can literally just push this cover over that little bit till it contacts the belt, and you can use a magnet up top, which I'll use anyways, but you can use a magnet on the top of the weight and pull it out. They are able to go in and out without pulling this cover. All you need to do is pull the snap ring and the pin, and the weight will come out. So without further ado, let's remove this cover. And this one I'm not doing very evenly because our spring is very much a little bit weaker on engagement for smooth engagement. But it's actually stiffer on the big end. So nice smooth engagement with this kit. Your factory spring again will be green, this one red. That's what we're putting in. We have no butter shift washer at this point in time. It's just a spring in, just like your OEM one. And now we're going to pull this snap ring with our small snap ring pliers. Going to rotate that Actually, I'm going to rotate around to the one that I had prior. We can rotate this around. Okay. Snap ring is out. Be careful with that. You can use one of your primary bolts, not very long, but it can push this pin out a little bit. I have this ball-headed Allen handy, or a punch, and just push this pin. They may be a little more sticky in this one. This one's been out a few times, but they can stick in there a little bit. I have to use a hammer and tap them out lightly. There's your pin. Don't damage that or get it dirty. Okay, so you've set your weight pin aside. This weight dropped down a little bit, and you will have to kind of finagle it out. When they're tipped in, they'll stick a little bit on the bottom sometimes, but they're not too bad. If it drops in, you know, you can pull it out, but it's really easy to pull it out just like that with a magnet. You can kind of get it by hand, but a magnet makes it so much better. Okay, we're going to go over our clutch weights versus the OEM. These OEM weights have about 30 miles on them, and they are, as you can tell, they're kind of pitted already. They have this hump at the end of it. That's not great. Your roller kind of sits in that pocket. It's eventually going to wear that weight out, because that roller will just sit and kind of float within that pocket. We see that on the KRX all the time. So in our weight, we actually got rid of that. We actually allow this to shift out further as well with our overdrive cover that we do have available now. I'm going to show the stock cover going back on this, but we do have our overdrive cover. I'll show you in a second. But our weight profile is different. This is meant to ramp up RPM much quicker and work much better all around to give better belt pinch up top as well as down low. So our weights are adjustable. No adjustability with OEMs. So this is our number 1 hole, 2, 3, 4. So let's say your setup sheet calls for 3, 2, 2, 2. There'll be 3 magnets in this hole closest to where the pin mounts, and then 2, 2, 2. Always use your latest setup sheet. That will be our most accurate settings currently. That comes with the kit. Our weights are also much harder than the factory weights. So these are more of a cast weight. Ours is a machined billet weight. It's got a hard coat on it, nitrocarburizing, and then we also hard coat them, we through harden them as well. So these are extremely durable weights, very, very durable, as hard as we can go without getting brittle. So this is an extremely good weight from AA. Next, I'm going to show you our overdrive cover. So this billet H2 cover here, this I'm not going to be putting on the rest of the video. We didn't have it when I did the rest of it, to be honest, but it is going to shift further. So that's going to allow your clutch to shift out further. This clutch can shift a little bit further because factory just doesn't do that. I don't know why, but they don't. So we can take advantage of this, and that really helps anybody that runs in low range a lot. If you run top speed, higher speed stuff quite a bit, but it really helps everybody too, because that weight will actually go to full shift and come back, and that helps to keep you out of the same exact placement on that weight, so it doesn't wear the tip of the weight out when you're cruising around nearly as much. So having the extra shift ratio really helps out, and it helps keep the clutches running much better, a little bit more top speed if your vehicle will pull it. That's all pending, but there is the potential for more top speed with this overdrive cover that we have. This is the billet cover, much stronger than factory. This factory cast cover, not so great. You can see the 2 right there. Once you pull your OEM weight out, we just pulled our weight out because it was already installed. We're just going to put this back in exactly the opposite. Set that up, put it in, grab our pin again, and you kind of got to hold this weight up a little bit, and you got to tip it in. It's kind of an odd deal. It's not very hard, but once you get the feel of it, it makes a lot more sense. So the weight as it sits won't really get on the pin. You have to kind of tip it in and then grab your magnet again and then use that to push this weight into place. Because when they're tipped out, they won't clear in there properly. Alright, there we go. Slap that in. It's hard to see, I know, but you'll get the hang of it. My words will make sense when you see it. Snap ring pliers, snap ring. Again, be very careful with these. This can cause catastrophic clutch damage if you do not install them properly. So that is in. You can see that one side is up a little bit. I almost like to install them so they're not in the groove fully. Not always easy to control. As you can push it into the groove, you can hear it seat, and then I like to rotate. If it rotates, you know you're in the groove, right? So that's what I would suggest. Triple check these as much as you can. From there, our weights are going to be installed. You're going to repeat that process on all 3 arms. You're going to put this back together. You're going to put your spring in, your AA spring. Your cover, we will have a revolver cover around that's not going to have an arrow on it. That can go on any way. This one is balanced with the assembly. There is an arrow on this clutch right here pointing up, and this arrow has to point up with that. You're going to put that on, pull your clutch out, put these 6 bolts in, and these just need to be snug. We can have the torque spec in our setup sheet, I believe, but they don't need to be cranked upon. This is just the cast piece I have on the Ridge models broken. One ear of these cast pieces when I came in a little too hot with the impact, in a hurry, clutching, trying to make a bunch of changes, figuring things out. But it will break an ear because this cast is weak. So that's why I really suggest our billet revolver cover that we have. And that's it. Make sure all 6 bolts are tight. Double check those. That clutch kit is installed. You are ready to fire this up. Put your clutch cover back on, I should say, but you can fire it up and listen to things if you want, just like this. Make sure nothing else is in the way. Okay, so we're going to install the cover. We're going to put the secondary part of the cover in. You're going to slide it in flat like this in between the shock and the frame over here. Slide it as far up as you can get it like that, and then you're going to start to hit. Raise it up, keep working it in, and again this bolt hole over here, hard to see doing this by myself, but there's a bolt hole in the cover that should be lined up with the other frame rail bolt, and then you just kind of have to pry this thing in. So once it's lined up, I like to give it just a tap, just like that. It has to bounce over the frame just a little bit, right in this elbow of the frame, and then your clutch is on. Line everything up, make sure again your seal is in here, and then go ahead and tighten all your clutch cover bolts. Make sure to put this on the correct way so it goes towards the inside, so it deflects heat away from that secondary. Once you're done there, go do a peak RPM check. That is important. Your setup sheet tells you how to do this. Check that peak RPM, make sure you're where you need to be, you're not smacking the rev limiter, and that's how to install our S1 clutch kit on the Teryx H2.